here for the setup and making this all possible. Terry McKinney, lots of good behind the scenes work, getting our food prep. Roy McCaslin, he's not in here, but does a great job keeping our facility looking top notch. And then some of our tour guides, we have Jason Asbill. Say hi, Jason.
Hello.
And then Taiwan Walker will be giving us some tours after we're done here today. Before we get started, I'd like everybody to go around and introduce themselves. So start up here at the front, work our way down.
Nick Parziel with Sledge Lock.
Shauna Norris with Sway Shop.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kiana Townsend with Georgia Pacific.
Teresa Hoff, Captain Care.
Bob Bean, Georgia Pacific.
Dan Morris, Advantage Controls.
I say the zigzag.
I
doing the zigzag.
He always bucks authority. He doesn't follow the line.
I'd like to introduce my guests or allow them to introduce themselves. These are the guys that did our solar next door and are just happened to be in town working with the city on another project. Bob Hughes and Sean Roberts.
Welcome, guys.
Brad Buckle with SMC Packaging in Tulsa.
Jeff Woods with SOC Packaging in Springfield.
Jared Murr with Paradigm Shift.
Justin Fraser, Van Control.
Lindsay McCall, Port of Muskogee.
Kathleen Smith, Delphi. Angela Wilson with the Chamber of Commerce.
Tim Thompson with OG&E.
Gary Stademeyer, Eastern Workforce Board.
I'm Dick Morris with Advantage Controls. I'm the guy that started this whole thing. In August of 1994, me and two others.
And if you got lots of time for really long stories, we can all hang around and listen.
I'll tell you a lot of them. But also I'm introduced as High Guy. I've been the clown for 47 years.
Minnie Campbell, Meridian Group.
Jay Arterberry, Meridian Group.
Sam Harper, Muskogee Cabinet.
Spencer Roth at Indian.
Ernie Franklin, Commercial Metals.
Hey, Marie, your timing is perfect.
Sheila Gray, Advantage Controls. Terry McKinney, Advantage Controls.
Jason Asbill, Advantage Control.
Jessica Walker, Advantage Terrified.
Howard Walker, Advantage Controls. Eric Anderson, H.E. Anderson Company.
Andy Anderson, A.G. Anderson.
Marie Sinar, Port of Muskogee.
Kim Hackus, Port of Muskogee.
All right, and I am Jeff O'Neill here with Advantage Controls. So welcome, everybody. In your package you received, you should have a copy of today's agenda, the meeting minutes from our last official meeting in October, and then a list of participants. Everyone should have also received that by email, so if you've had a chance to review that, I'd like to consider a motion to approve the minutes. And how about a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. A little bit about Advantage Controls. We just celebrated our 25th anniversary last year. We are in the industrial water treatment equipment market, and depending on who you ask, that's going to mean different things to different people. We don't treat your drinking water. We don't treat your poop water. We treat the water that's in recirculating systems in cooling towers and boilers. So those systems tend to form mineral scale, which reduces the heat transfer efficiency, or they tend to corrode, or they tend to attract nasty biological growth, which causes disease. So our equipment is designed to minimize each of those and help systems run more efficiently. We're a green industry. We conserve water, we conserve energy, and also prolong the life of capital equipment and prevent people from catching those nasty bugs like Legionella. We have roughly 100 team members here. About 80 of them work in this facility, and the others are going to be our field reps, which are stationed from coast to coast. I believe we have 9 regional sales offices, as well as a couple of employees in China, and then partnerships with a few companies in the UK and Australia as well. Our equipment is sold in all 50 states. If you look around the room, some of the higher profile installations are going to be on the wall there, but everything from automotive manufacturing to food processing, anywhere that has a cooling tower or a boiler is likely going to have our equipment or something like it. We have a pretty big footprint internationally. We have sales into over 70 countries around the world. A lot of those are highlighted up here. One thing that really makes us different here is our focus on team. I mentioned the word team members. We have team members instead of employees here. A couple years back, Dan fired all of our employees work hard and they show up late and they talk on their phone, and we hired back only team members who were interested in, being contributing members of our team. So it's a real family-friendly environment here. We take good care of our people, recognize them through our monthly MVP program, to where we select sort of what you might know as an employee of the month. And then at the end of every year, we allow our team members to vote on the best of the best MVP for the year, and they're given an all-expense paid trip for two. Started off as a cruise, but one guy ended up going to Japan, another one took his family on a couple of smaller vacations to New York and Washington, D.C. So lots of incentives here for our team members. Being in a green industry, we've also tried to implement some of those measures here, not just in the products that we make, but initiatives like the LED lighting that you're going to see all throughout the facility. We've got rid of all of our single-use water bottles and have given everybody these blue refillable bottles that you see here. So if you didn't grab one, those are yours. Feel free to take one before you leave. Throughout the plant, you're going to see a couple of refillable water stations, like the one next to the fridge there. They keep track of how many bottles we've actually saved, so that's kind of a cool thing as well. So just like to welcome everybody. I'm glad that you made it. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest speaker today, Jared Burr. And he's a speaker, a corporate trainer, cultural entrepreneur, graduate of Northeastern State University with a bachelor's degree in business administration, and a member of the Northeastern State University Hall of Fame. That's a first.
Thanks. My mom voted.
Get your autograph. Burr is the founder of the 20 Leadership Camp. It's a faith-based movement equipping students through personal leadership challenges. He's also the co-founder of Paradigm Shift, a leadership training and development firm. Burr speaks at multiple human resources conferences and corporate educational events throughout the year. He's also honored to be a member of the Salvation Army Advisory Board, as well as being appointed partner expert in the Forges Startup Incubator. That's powered by the Tulsa Regional Chamber. Burr currently resides in Muskogee with his wife Jen and 3 children, Adelaide, Jocelyn,
Jocelyn, good job.
and Everett. His favorite book is The Giving Tree. Michelle Silverstein fan. Silverstein?
Either or,
Yeah.
potato.
And loves working on his bucket list, the OKC Thunder and good coffee. Everybody please help me give a warm welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that introduction. Thanks for having me. What a great facility and a good lunch. Thank you for everybody who made that happen. If you are like me, you have a multiplicity of fires to put out every single day, emails, text messages, things going wrong, things going right, things happening, your day job, everything that's not in your job that you have to do, whatever the case may be. You got all these things going, and then you come to a luncheon like this, and we sit and we listen, we meet people, we go on tours, all those things. But our minds can go many places at any given moment. As a matter of fact, most of us have nearly built-in distraction mechanisms at our side at all times, where anyone from your team or beyond your team can text you, they can email you, they might even call you, all those things. If you're very active on social media, you might have Faces to Book or, Instagram, Snaps to Chat, whatever it is that you do. That being said, I want us to all get on the same page. Because I'm only going to speak for probably 25 minutes here and then maybe have some Q&A or some discussion, and then we can get on the rest of our day. There are 3 simple rules for this activity to help us get all on the same mental page. Okay, rule number 1, and hopefully my decibel level is appropriate for this room, so if you can hear me, give me a double thumbs up like this, 2 thumbs up. Okay, good. Rule number 1, no double thumbs from this point forward. You can put those away. All right, great. Rule number 2, if you would, give me a double point just like this. All right, excellent. Double point just like this. Now, a few of you have tried to teach this activity before. Hopefully you've been practicing, so no double points. And rule number 3, we're in Oklahoma. I don't know if you brought yours, but I'm always packing. Air pistols, they look like this. All right, you got your air pistols on you. Rule number 3, no air pistols at any point. Those are the 3 rules. No double thumbs, no double pointers, and no guns at any point. That's it, okay? Now the activity, we'll get on the same page. With your left hand, I invite you to give me a thumb up, just like this. Just one, so it's legal. This is not a trick, I'm not tricking anyone. Okay, not a trick. I know you're like, wait a minute, is this a real? It's not. So left hand, keep that up if you would please. So you got one thumb, and now with your right hand, give me a point just like this. Okay, freeze. Now this is legal. We're compliant right here. We got one thumb, we got one pointer, and I have no guns. Make sense? So all I want you to do with this format is I want you to switch back and forth with me at my pace. 1, 2, 3, switch. Switch, 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 switch. All right, it's pretty tricky, right? That's right. Switch, switch, switch. All right, Show your neighbor. Let's go one more time. Show your neighbor. Misery loves company. It's all right. If you're not good at it, that's totally normal. Ready and go. Switch, 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 switch. Pretty tricky, right? Switch, 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 switch. Very tricky. Now, the reason I show you this activity, it helps us get on the same page, helps us focus in, but it reveals a few good lessons for us. When I was shown this activity, a friend of mine showed it to me. We were in a one-on-one setting. He went through the same rules that I gave you. He showed me the activity. He says, switch, 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 and he was super fast. And I went, okay. And I could not get this gun to go away. Like, no matter what I did, it was just gun, gun, gun. So I thought it was a trick. I said, all right, show me again. You're doing something with your hands like, this is like a, this is an actual trick of some kind. He said, there's no trick. He slowed down. He said, I'm just switching back and forth, back and forth. And I said, all right, I'm pretty competitive. And anything you can do, I think I can do better. So I'm fired up. I try again, and lo and behold, just couldn't do it. So I was immediately frustrated. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm not good at something, I don't try to do that thing. It's like I'm a fully functioning adult. I consider myself fairly intelligent. I don't like feeling dumb. I don't like feeling frustrated. I don't like it, so I just don't do it. I'll take my ball and go home. So I go home, and my wife and I, we have 3 kids, as Jeff mentioned. And so kids are in bed, we're sitting there, we're watching TV, and I'm doing this in the couch. And I'm just like, golly. And she says, what the heck are you doing? I'm like, it's a dumb activity. I'm just trying to figure out how to do it. And it took me a little while, and I'm not the world's greatest, but I feel like I'm fairly proficient now, and I'm certainly not embarrassed or frustrated like I was the first time. Today, we're going to discuss several ideas on employee engagement, employee motivation, team engagement, team motivation. All of those ideas have lots of opportunities for growth, lots of ways that we could go. But at the end of the day, if we are going to grow as people, as leaders, it comes down to discomfort. This activity is not difficult. This activity is not complicated. I believe anyone, to any certain degree, can learn how to do this. It's certainly simple. I taught it to you, and okay, it's not complicated. Leadership is not complicated. I don't believe employee engagement is complicated. I don't believe motivating people is necessarily complicated, but it can be uncomfortable, and it can be difficult for me. And so all of us then, as leaders, have to lean into the discomfort. If I'm not good at something, I have to change that to an attitude. Well, I'm not good at that yet. But if you're like me, the older we get, the more adverse we get to discomfort. I don't like to try new things. I know I'm not good at that. I don't want to do it. I don't want to play that game. Hey, you want to do this thing? Oh, no, I'm not good at that. Oh, you want to come over here and try this? Oh, no, that's just not me. Well, you want to come and talk to everybody in public? Oh, no, I don't like to stand in front of groups. Oh, you want to talk to anybody? Oh, no, I don't like talking one-on-one either. But okay. We get in these habits and these routines because of comfort. So the greatest, to me, difficulty or the greatest hindrance to personal growth or improved leadership or an improved team camaraderie is discomfort. That's it. It's not the people involved. It's not your skill level. It's not your natural abilities or talents. It's just a willingness. Great leaders are willing to get uncomfortable. They're willing to say, I'm not good at that yet, but I'll try. Everybody else around me, this seems like a good idea to everyone, even though it's out of my comfort zone or wheelhouse, so I will lean into the discomfort. I can't do this fast yet, but if I don't give up, at the end of this, I might be able to do it. So today, with this idea of discomfort, I have a few goals for our time together. Number one, I hope to give you something to think about. One thought. Now, the truth of the matter is you will probably forget most of what I talk about. Matter of fact, you might even forget this lunch entirely. I have no false arrogance that I'm going to give you some 30-minute conversation that you remember everything I say. It's just not going to happen. But if I can leave you with one thing, and I don't know what that thing will be, but if I can leave you with one thought where you walk away and go, you know what, that was a pretty good idea, or that made you think of something in your place of employment or your home or wherever the case may be, then I'm hitting my goal. Because a paradigm shift, our organization, our logo, and you'll see it in a little bit, it's a little origami bird or an origami swan. Because we believe in the power of transformation. In other words, the paper is already in the room. I'm probably not going to bring you any new paper, some radical idea, some radical new truth about leadership that no one has ever thought of before. What I hope to do is help you see things in a new way and shape this paper into something new so that you can take it back to your groups and go, okay, I'm going to try it that way. Or, ooh, I've never thought of myself in that light before. But I can do that, and I can learn and grow and pursue that. My second goal is I'd like to connect with you. How been able to talk with a couple of different people, a few people around the room during our lunch, but I haven't got to meet everybody. I hope to connect with as many people as possible. And number three, I hope that we have a good time. Those are my 3 goals for today. So with that, I'd like us to connect with each other. Now, you may know everyone in the room. You may not know anyone in the room like me. But I'm going to issue a quick challenge. I want you to think first of 3 things about yourself that I probably wouldn't guess or would not know by coming into this room. So for example, these are things about you that you don't typically let people know or talk about, just things that don't come up. For example, so for me, I am from this area. I graduated from Otaha, so I was raised on a farm. Okay, so that'd be one fact you would never know it. I was raised on a farm. All right, number 2. Let's see here. I was actually once on a nationally televised game show. Okay, so I was actually on a game show one time. And let's see, number 3. Let's see, number 3. Let's see. It was in my bio, but I absolutely love basketball. Love the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it's on my bucket list to go to see a game in every professional stadium, or arena. All right, so those are 3 things. You'd never know. They're just things deeper than. We're really good at these questions. Hi, I'm Jared. What was your name? Ernie. Nice. Where are you from, Ernie? Muskogee. Me too. And what do you do?
Work at CFC.
CFC. Thank you very much. I'm very nice. Okay, we're really good at those 3 questions. What's your name? Where are you from? What do you do? We're going to go one step beyond that. And I want you to think of 3 things about yourself that you probably wouldn't naturally just come up. Okay? Take a moment. Think of those 3 things. Take a moment. This is very important. Radically imperative for the rest of our conversation. Okay? So you got those 3 things? They don't have to be super elaborate. It can be simple. It can be something like a childhood fact, a hobby that you're into, something about your family, something about your civic involvement or something that's going on in your life now, something of interest. Okay? Got those 3 things? All right, so here's your challenge. When I say go, I'd like you to share those 3 things with the people around you, at least one person around you, and with at least one person that's not around you. So for example, if I am seated here, Ernie's seated here, then he's got these people immediately around him. Great, he's going to chit-chat with those individuals. And then I'm going to invite you, Ernie, to step out of your seat and meet someone beyond your immediate area and share those 3 facts and hear theirs. Okay? If you would like to participate, I would love for you to. I invite you to go. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Share your 3 facts. Ready? Go, go, go. Go, 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 go. Share your 3 facts. with someone, get to know something you didn't know before, and here I am asking you to do it, and then I'm asking you to stop it. But for the sake of time and efficiency in our meeting, I will bring those conversations to a close. Although I encourage you to continue those conversations at any point. Now, for a quick survey, how many of you, by a quick lifted hand, learned something about someone that you didn't know before? Almost all of us acknowledge. Okay, great. Thank you very much. How many of you noticed the phenomenon? Because if you participate at all, then no doubt you learned something new, as was the prompt. How many of you, out of curiosity, once you started a conversation or learned something, how many of you noticed that that conversation led to a question of any kind? Most of us, most of the time. You know, if I said, well, I grew up on a farm. Oh, okay. Well, where? What about? What'd you raise? Those sorts of questions. Great. And how many of you did you notice, and this may or may not have happened, but how many of you noticed some sort of connection or commonality from that initial conversation? Okay, good. A good percentage of it, probably about 60%. Where it was like, okay, I grew up on a farm. Oh, me too. Or, oh, I love basketball. Oh, me too. Oh, I was on a game show. Oh, really? Not me. So whatever the case may be, sometimes you have that immediate connection, or sometimes you have, oh, my brother is connected to that, or oh, I have a son, I have a daughter that's connected. So you have these connection commonality. Now, I want you to remember that simple exercise, because we will connect back to that exercise. Now, I want you to think through your emotions during the exercise, what you thought at any point during the exercise, because that says a lot about our leadership and how we are going to engage and motivate employees. Now, you all took a survey, and there were several answers from that survey. There's about a 50% split on all sorts of everything from character counts to empowering employees, everything from engaging employees that are disengaged, motivating people. Why am I here was a topic. So all of these things. So let me preface by saying I am going to try to address about 2 days worth of training in my world in the next 20 minutes. So if I scratch the surface of something and you say, well, okay, that seems like you scratched the surface, it is. And if you're interested in any of this, I'd be more than happy to have a follow-up conversation with you, or if you say, how would I apply that to my situation? Every situation is different. I'd be more than happy to talk with you about that. That's what we do with Paradigm Shift. Because in discovering this, there's the discovery phase of leadership that's underrated. As I was talking with 2 or 3 in this room, and you probably in this room can identify more than anybody else, I own a company called Paradigm Shift. We have 12 full-time employees. We have about 100 facilitators. We're located in Muskogee, Oklahoma, and nobody knows we exist. At least not in Muskogee. Very few people. Like if I said, just randomly took a poll of Muskogee and said, go to the Paradigm Shift building, or where is it? They're going to go, what? Now within, hey, thank you very much. Good job. That's right. So, all right, way to go. Hey, bonus points. Good catch. Very few people know, but outside of this community, outside in the educational world, and especially in corporate development outside, we've actually worked in all 50 states, we've worked in 5 different countries. We've been able to grow over the last 5 years fairly significantly, but it's interesting because you just don't know things. Revealing you don't know what you don't know. That same ideology, and if you can feel that with your organization, most people are like that. As a matter of fact, whenever I give this prompt, the activity that we just did, 2 things often happen. Number one, people often immediately feel like, oh, what am I going to share? Like, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about myself. You are drastically underestimating your abilities and your story. You as a leader are drastically underestimating your abilities and your stories. Because every single human, you have literally thousands of things that you can tell me about yourself. And we immediately go to, I don't know, I don't know, well, I work here, but you already said don't say that. I don't really know what to say. And in the same way that you're drastically underestimating your own story, I believe you're drastically underestimating your own ability to connect with people and unearth their stories. Because every single human is looking for security and significance. And so if we're going to talk about engaging and motivating employees, we have to realize 2 things. Number one, that is probably different for every individual. And number 2, what are the things that connect us as humans that I can apply on larger scales? So it's this dichotomy of leadership. Individual reality, I need to know you and how to motivate you, versus corporate or global scalability of leadership and motivation. So that's the dichotomy we're going to wrestle with today. Because if it comes down to engaging and motivating employees, I believe that the number 1 issue is integrity. So when I say the word integrity, I'm curious what immediately comes to your mind. Like definition of integrity? You can spout it out.
Doing what you say.
Doing what you say you're going to do. Thank you very much. Somebody else, shout it out.
Doing the right thing even though no one's watching.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Doing the right thing even though no one's watching. Great. Anything else?
Morality.
Morality. Thank you very much. Anything else? These are great.
Adhering to your own compass.
Adhering to your own compass. Thank you very much. So the word integrity is very easy for me as a leadership development trainer to throw out. It's very easy as an organization for us to say, we have integrity. We want integrity. We're people of integrity. That is super easy. It's super easy because integrity is hard to define and therefore measure. Do we have it or do we not? So when I ask this question, I usually get lots of answers as we did today, but two resonate most frequently. People often say honesty, and I agree. Honesty is a part of integrity that we almost subconsciously recognize. It's like honesty plus. It's like, yeah, it's honesty, but then there's like this other level to it. So it's like a little bit more than, a little bit higher than, the difficult to define. So then we are left with a definition like these two gentlemen shared, which is one that I grew up with, which is doing the right thing when no one sees, or doing what you say, okay. Now that's also a good definition, doing the right thing when no one knows or no one will see. But the difficulty that it then becomes a moral issue. In other words, what you say the right thing is and what I say the right thing is debatable. So if you're doing what you believe to be right, and I'm doing what I believe to be right, those could be two completely different things. So we have to look deeper for a definition. So this is a phenomenal building, by the way. I love this room. I feel completely safe. It's not going to fall in around us because this building has structural integrity. Now we know that. We say that. We use that verbiage. But this building is not honest, and this building has no moral compass, and this building has no values-based guidance system. It just is a building, yet we use the term integrity. So I'm going to throw out a new definition of integrity for you, that integrity equals alignment. That if something is in alignment, regardless of if I agree with you or not, it's not about right thing, wrong thing. It is more about consistency and alignment. That foundation and frame and overhead is all in alignment, and therefore I have integrity. Now, you and I can debate, whether it's the right or the wrong thing, but you cannot say that I'm not a person of alignment or integrity. So if we're going to motivate employees, the baseline is we have to be people of integrity. So we take it a step further, and that means, what do we mean by alignment? We mean head, heart, and hands. Now, heart can get somewhat fluid, and it may sound somewhat superfluous to say, okay, your heart, what do you mean? I basically mean your core values, the things that are most central to who you are as a person or who you are as a company. So it's not about heart like ooey gooey heart. It's about heart as in who you are at your core. Head is about your brain, your thoughts, your mental application. And then hands, of course, are action and what people see and how we interact. So let's talk about how our heads and our heart and our hands can interact in alignment to actually motivate our team and engage our team. There's a 3-step process in my opinion. Now, these are very broad. We're going to touch on these very quickly and then hopefully process them at a later time. Number 1 is you have to determine disengagement. Okay? You have to determine disengagement. I believe that every single human will disengage at some point. Disengagement in and of itself is not necessarily evil. Okay? What do I mean by that? Some of you disengaged at various points during this day. When I said we're going to do an activity, rule number 1, give me a double thumbs up. Some of you chose to disengage at that point. I'm not putting a thumbs up. Now you might not have consciously said that, but you didn't put your thumbs up. I said, okay, let's put our pointer fingers like this. I'll watch you put your fingers up. Okay? Okay, let's put guns like this. Okay, I'll watch you do that stupid gun trick. Okay, some of you follow me to that point. But then when I said, all right, ready, set, go, switch, some of you went, ready, set, go. Oh, no. Nope, I can tell. Nope, I'm done. Nope. So, we have to determine, that's what I mean by determined disengagement. Truth be told, I've done this activity thousands of times. I enjoy it. It does not hurt my feelings if someone, when I say, give me a double thumbs up, if they don't give me a double thumbs up, I'm okay with that. Doesn't hurt my feelings. That's completely fine. So I would even call you disengaged by my definition. It's fine. You're still in the room. So for me, disengagement is if you actively get up and walk out. I'd be like, oh, wow, okay, I've offended them with my thumbs up. But if you're just sitting there, fine. Make sense? So disengagement in and of itself doesn't mean anything. Disengagement is a relative term. We have to determine what do we mean by disengagement, because all of us will disengage. Others, you were with me during this, and then I said, all right, let's think of 3 things about yourself. okay, number one, number two, number three, and then I said share. You know what, I really need to get on my Okay, so you disengage that one. Others, I said share with someone around you, and you did. And then I encourage you to meet someone that's not around you, and you didn't move. So people will disengage at various levels. We have to identify then, where is it, what's the best adjective here? Where does it matter? Where is it troublesome to our organization? You know what I'm saying? So there are so many times, some organizations get in the fault of over-engagement. Meaning, okay, there's this volunteer thing on Saturday, we'd love for you to show up. On Monday, well, didn't show up Saturday, did you? We said it was volunteer. Okay. It's just nice if you'd show up. Well, is it volunteer or is it not volunteer? Like, you know what I'm saying? Let's determine, is it, if it's big enough for it not to be volunteer, then it may be another category of engagement. You know what I'm saying? Like, 5 pieces of flair on your suspenders, but if you have 30 pieces of flair, that's even better. We have to determine how many we want. So we have to be clear on that and determine what do we mean by disengagement. Because if we look at some of the numbers, and I'm going to rattle off some of these to show you some of these things, it does matter. Now this is from a 2019 report done by Predictive Index, and it basically shows, you can see there, and if you can't read it, people feel more satisfied with their jobs and their coworkers, less satisfied with managers and their organizations. Gallup study done about 4 years ago, overwhelmingly, the number one reason for dissatisfaction or people leaving a job is their relationship with their direct reports. So the person to whomever, or their direct supervisor, the person to whomever they're directly reporting, their engagement goes from 40% actively disengaged down to 1% disengaged whenever the direct supervisor recognizes just one strength in the individual. Now I know I rattled off a lot of numbers there, but what do I mean? Short version, if you have a good supervisor who recognizes your strengths and your individuality and your particular production to the whole, to the team, then I am happier in my job and I am more satisfied with the organization and I am more engaged. If you look at some of the numbers, and I can send this to you all, but basically it just shows that employee disengagement actually matters, that it affects our bottom line, that it shows us that we actually it costs us more when people are disengaged. It's a little bit like the hiring, it's 7 times more, marketing. It is 7 times more expensive to go out and get a new client than it is to retain a client. It's the same ideology. It is easier and more productive and more beneficial for us to keep employees and therefore engage them. So how do we do it? Let's get to the how. You have to ask them, what does it mean for an employee to be disengaged? What's it look like? What does it sound like? What's it feel like? So I'm curious for you all. And we don't have time for us to go through this workshop. If I was workshopping it, we would actually slow down and have to answer that question. What does disengagement, I'm shocked at the number of times I'm in employee engagement seminars and we don't identify what we mean by disengagement. Do we mean they don't smile? Do we mean they don't show up to the volunteer thing? Do we mean they're late? Do we mean, there are some obvious ones, you know what I'm saying? Their absenteeism is off the charts. Okay, that's a pretty black and white standard we may look at, but how are we comparing that, or how are we using that data to actually improve our engagement? What does it mean when you say, I want our employees to be more engaged? Do you mean you want them to look happier? Do you mean you want them to move faster? Do you mean you want them to be more productive? If so, in what ways? And what is those minimum standards? What does it look like? What does it sound like? Because there is this scale of disengagement. These are 12 questions. It goes from basic needs all the way to growth. I can share that with you all individually later. I know it's hard to see. But we have to know what this scale means to us. This is the scale of disengagement. So, actively engaged are, generally speaking, those people that are your recruiters. They enjoy the job so much, they're going to try to fill empty positions for you. They're going to recruit their friends that are unhappy or disengaged in other organizations. Oh man, you ought to come work for Advance. This place is awesome. That's an actively engaged person. They are showing up to the volunteer. They are on committees. They are getting extra certifications. All those things. Actively disengaged, on the other end of the spectrum, to be broad, are the ones that are actively telling people, don't apply here. You know what I'm saying? My out-of-work brother has been sitting on my couch for 3 months, but you don't want to work with me. You don't want to work here. Don't do that. They're the ones sitting around the break room going, man, I think I'm going to quit. You want to quit today? Now let's finish today. Fine. I'll finish today. That's actively disengaged. So it's a scale. But as a leader, as a team, we have to know what this means to us. That's what I mean by determine disengagement. Not just are people disengaged. disengagement. What does it even mean to us? Discover what you don't know. So this is step 2. So number 1 is, what do we mean by disengagement? Let's determine what that actually is. Because before we can get into motivation, we have to know, are our people engaged, disengaged, and what in between? Discover what you don't know. There is this interesting idea that was first posed in the late 1980s, but it's proven true over the last 25, 30 years. It's the iceberg of ignorance, and I don't know if you can see that there in the back. But basically, that the top levels of our organizations only see 4% of the problems. That staff, team members at all levels, the entry points, the lines, they see 100% of the problems. And then it is this disparaging difference going on. So oftentimes, those of us who are in decision-making committees, teams, processes, positions of saying, let's give an engagement survey, let's figure out what's going on, we may or may not even know the problems. That's where I say you have to learn what you don't know. You have to understand not just are people disengaged, but the reason why they're disengaged may be very simple. And that's actually a simple fix. And so often I see companies spend lots of money on programs that don't really matter because the problem is incredibly basic, but we just overlook it. So digging in and trying to survey all organizations to figure out how we're disengaged. Now here are some that we've identified as the most common. Now, these are broad, but if you think through it, I believe it makes sense. So the common disengagement catalysts are confusion, stagnation, meaningless, or instability. These are 4 common areas or contributors to disengagement. If I'm confused, if I feel stagnant in my position, if I feel my position is meaningless or unstable in any ways. Their counterparts are essentially the opposite, but bringing clarity, opportunity, significance, and security often engages people. So if you can cut through these, you're going to cut through most of your problems. Now, what does this mean in real life? I want you to think of a game. Any game. Now, maybe like me, I've said I love basketball, so you can maybe think of a pickup basketball game. Maybe you're a board game player, you might think of a board game. Maybe you're a card player, you think of a card game. But I want you to think of you playing a game, okay? You're actually playing a game. I'm Jared. What's your name? Pick a card. Nick. All right, you and I are going to play a game. What kind of game would you like? Any kind of games? Oh, good. All right, poker. All right. So I like to play Hold'em. Okay, so we'll play Texas Hold'em. So let's say if we're going to sit down and we're going to play Hold'em, not in a casino. This is just a backyard game with you, me, and our buddies. Okay, we're sitting around the table. We're playing this casino. Now I'm going to illustrate disengagement. I'm going to illustrate the major catalyst for disengagement with our poker game. Make sense? That's what we're going to look at. Try to make it real world. Okay? So if Nick and I are sitting around playing poker, if I'm confused, it's my first time playing, you invited me, we're buddies, I don't really know how to play, but hey, Jared's a good guy, I vouch for him, let's sit down and play it. I've only ever played spades, but okay, let's do it. And I'm sitting there and I lose some money. I'm sitting there and you say, put up your blind. What? You're the blind. And no one's explained to me what blind is. I don't know what that means. Just take $5 and put it in front of me. Okay. We go around. Well, I guess I felt, okay, you lose your $5. I go through about 3 rounds of that and I've lost $25. I'm confused. I don't even know the rules. Why? What? You guys keep saying river, flop, turn. I caught you on the turn, Jared. Because I put out a blind, and then the next round, I'm just a check. What's a check? I put out money. No, don't put out money. You check. Oh, you're betting? No, I just wanted to stay. See what I'm saying? I'm confused. I quit. I don't want to play anymore. Okay? I can't move. All right? I can't do anything. If I sit there and I'm not catching cards all night long, let's say I catch nothing. I catch 2-7 offsuits, 15 hands in a row. I'm moving on. I'm done with this game. I can't move. I quit. Now I'm using a bunch of Texas Hold'em analogies. If you're going, I don't even know what the heck Jared's saying about Texas Hold'em. Well, guess what? You're probably disengaged with this conversation. But if you're a poker player, you're probably engaged with the conversation. You might be going, well, dang, Jared, you're actually doing a pretty good job with this analogy. See? Because you're disengaged because you're confused and you have nowhere to go. Or no one cares. If we're sitting around playing, and I played this game where we played for too little money. If you've ever played for too little money, as in we started playing when we were in high school, we played when we were in college, we had $0 to our name. You know what I'm saying? We played basically nickel and dime as our blind, as our small and large blind. Nickel and dime. Well, then we got jobs and we're still playing like nickel and dime. I'm like, you're betting up the pot with a 2-8 offsuit because we're only betting for 25 cents max. No one cares. I don't want to play this game. No one cares anymore. It's like, let me go another analogy. I love playing pickup basketball, but at the end of the game, when everybody's tired, it just becomes a like walk down, somebody jacks a 3, walk down, somebody else jacks up a 3. No one cares about this game anymore. I'm done, I'm gonna go home. And finally, the game's over. Meaning, it feels like no one's coming. We used to have 20 guys at our poker game, then we had 10 guys. It's ending. That's instability. In other words, I feel the economy shaking. I feel instability in my job. Everybody around me is quitting. I'm now disengaged. I gotta go look for another job because I feel like I'm next. So that's what I mean by showing you how these correspond. That's why these are the 4 largest catalysts for disengagement. If I'm confused, if I can't move anywhere, I'm stagnant, if I feel like it's meaningless or I feel like it's unstable, then I quit. I'm disengaged. And I don't mean quit as in like I'm leaving the company. Worse is they quit on you and you're still having to give them a paycheck. They're still here. They're here, but they're not. They emotionally checked out. So what do we do about this? Let me wrap this up very quickly. What do we do? Is overcome the motivation myth, meaning the motivation is relative to the individual. Therefore, we should not seek to motivate employees, but rather improve leaders. If we want to motivate people, I know some of you, I've known some of you for a while, I've met some of you today, and some of you I've never even shaken your hand. It is impossible for me, if I were your team lead, to walk in and motivate this entire team. It's impossible. I just don't know enough about you. I don't know enough about the group. I don't know enough about the dynamics. It is then about leadership. Then I should seek to improve, which is about learning the group, learning the individuals. That's why I said at the beginning of this, think of 3 things about yourself and learn them about someone else. That's good leadership. Meaning, if I want to motivate people, and I want to take people from confusion and disarray into clarity and productivity, I have to be willing to look at my leadership, because leadership is critical. Leadership equals influence, influence equals trust, trust equals connection. That's it. How do you motivate people? If I don't know you from Adam, you're not going to trust me. You don't trust me. I can't influence your decisions or your productivity. The best book on trust I've ever read is called The Speed of Trust. It's by the Franklin Covey Institute. If you've never read it, I would highly encourage you to. Every leader should read it. It's called The Speed of Trust. It's actually, it's Stephen M.R. Covey, I believe. Stephen R. Covey wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. His son, M.R. Covey, is the author of Speed of Trust. But if you just Google up Speed of Trust by Covey, it's the first one to pop up. It's incredible. It breaks down trust in a way that is applicable in every situation. And I'll end with this. Trust is a combination of character and competence. There are 4 pillars: integrity, intent, capabilities, and results. Those 4 are how we determine if we trust someone or not. And if your team trusts you, if they believe that you have integrity, and you have the best intentions, if you improve yourself as a capable person who delivers results, if you do those 4, then you have the opportunity to speak into people's lives and motivate and engage them. If not, then it's all a moot point. You will not do it. We have to increase our leadership, because when we look at people, we either honestly, sincerely think that, you know what, I want to connect with you. I want to know who you are as a person. You're worth me learning the 3 things that I don't know. You're worth me in a practical sense, when you're on a break, when you're on lunch, when you're in your office, when you're wherever, every single day with someone, you should be saying, tell me something I don't know about you. What do you mean? I know you work here. I know you're from Muskogee. I think you got a family, you got 2 kids, right? Yep. Well, tell me something I don't know. Well, what do you mean? They're going to say, what do you mean? I don't know. There are literally thousands of facts about you that I don't know. Did you grow up playing sports? Do you play an instrument? What's your hobbies? What kind of TV shows you like? You a Netflix fan, Hulu fan, Disney Plus fan, ESPN Plus? What do you watch? All sorts of things about people that we don't know. And it's those small things over time that develop. Because I either look at people and I believe that leadership falls in 2 categories. Either I truly believe that every person matters, and they are worth my attention, and they are worth my understanding, and from that place of belief, I will work to increase the capacity of our team. Or I'm the type of leader that just looks at people, and when I'm disheartened, and I believe that dreams are like rainbows, only idiots chase them. This is demotivating. If you're the type of person that looks out and says, oh, you know what, it's going to heck in a handbasket. I guess I better get a different handbasket. Or you look at it and say, no, how can I do something about this? Motivation, employee engagement, often comes down to the leader. Are you a person who believes in people? Or are you a person who believes in shortcuts? So, I appreciate your time. I'm going to turn it back over to our host, Jeff. Thank you very much.
services in your companies, encourage you to reach out and do that. So appreciate you coming. Let's see here. We have no old business to discuss. We have a few new business items to discuss. First off, anybody have any achievements, any good news, anything happening in their company that they want to brag about?
Well, I think, since our last meeting, I know that I'm not a manufacturer, but I would like for this group to recognize and congratulate Angela Wilson, who is now the president and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce.
Our company just made an investment into expanding our products and doing granite and quartz, so.
Very cool. Good deal. We had a winner, Heidi Stair, our resident mechanical engineer, was named as one of Oklahoma's women in STEM at a conference last week, one of just a handful here in the state. So really proud of Heidi. There's an article about her over there on the fridge if you guys want to know more about that. But she does a really good job here for us. Inspiration to younger kids, always volunteering at the local school activities and trying to recruit young people into the science and engineering and math fields. So really proud of Heidi as well. Let's see here. Lindsay, you want to talk about Muskogee manufacturing jobs?
Thank you. So I sent a lot of you an email a couple weeks ago. We are starting a new initiative, Muskogee MFG Jobs. And so what that means is we are wanting to help you guys with your current workforce needs. And so the first opportunity for this will be the McIntosh County Job Fair that is hosted by Oklahoma Works. And I talked to Ryan Davis today, and he's expecting around 200 job seekers at this event. But what we're going to do is we're going to host a table. So you guys don't have to be there. Just let me know what you're hiring for, what the job is, a pay range, and then we're going to develop some marketing collateral and flyers to give those job seekers. So we'll have your contact information of who they contact to apply, or if it's online, we'll have that information. And we're just going to go as a consortium of all of the GMA members to help advertise for those jobs. So we're really excited about it. Marie looks like she wants to.
Highest unemployment rate.
McIntosh County has the highest unemployment rate in the state. And so there are a lot of people that are not working in that county. And I know a lot of our manufacturers are looking for people right now. And so this is the perfect audience to find those new employees, or those new team members.
Excellent. Yes, sir.
Wasn't one of our GMMA members just recently elected to the board of the OMA? Who would that be?
Not publicly announced just yet. But
It may happen someday.
maybe next month we'll
Maybe
learn
we'll have-
more about that. Stay tuned. Actually, yeah, I mean that's been 4 months or so ago. But yeah, I was elected to the board. More news coming though.
Way to go, Jeff.
Thank you. We are coming up again on our applications for the GMMA scholarship that we started last year. So last year we raised $5,000 to give out scholarships to how many people? Four different individuals in the community. One of them worked right here at Advantage Controls. So we're coming back once again. This is a sponsorship that we as an organization are sponsoring. So I'd like to encourage each of you, if you gave last year, to match your gift again. If you didn't participate last year, dig deep and let's try to raise at least that money, if not more, and reward another four or more people who are looking to again improve their skills. It could be something job related that you want them to learn to do. It could be at any of our technical and higher education facilities here in the area, whether it's ICTC or NSU or OSU IT, any of those type things, anything that's manufacturing related. So it could be your employees or team members, it could be students, high school students, college students, any adults in the community. So give that some thought. The application deadline and the application for scholarship federal dollars are gonna be used for infrastructure projects, for education, social programs, that sort of thing. So some of our population groups are a little harder to reach, some that don't have, speak English as their first language, others that may be distrustful of government, some that don't have access to the internet, which is where most of the census information is gathered from. So just like to encourage each of you, if you have any of those types of people in your organizations, reach out, try to encourage them, assist them with that, because it's important for all of us. Census Day is April 1st, however, they're gonna start accepting responses online sometime in March. Takes about 15 minutes to complete, there's only 9 questions, so again, just encourage everybody to try to get your team on board.
Kim can get you posters for your places of work. It's easy to do.
There you go.
And we are having a census day on April 1st at the Civic Center. We're giving away free hot dogs and all kinds of stuff.
And a car.
And maybe a car. More details to follow. You and Dan need to sit together. Anyway, but, yeah, I can get posters and everything to hang up, so please, we need to encourage as many people as we can to fill out the census. But we'll have computers that day, tablets and everything to help people fill it out that day also.
So not only is that important to federal funding, but we are, as Oklahoma, are really close to getting an additional congressional rep in the House, and so filling out that census is important for that. But I think also just local pride. I think so much has been put out there about our population's either stagnant or declining for the last 40 years. Well, I'd be interested because our participation in the census in Muskogee is low. So let's get people to fill out that census and see exactly where our population is. Is that really a decline or a stagnant population, or are we just distrustful of government and not completing those forms? It could go a long way for community pride.
You could fill out multiple forms.
We'll have plenty available.
Vote early, vote often.
They'll also be available at the Oklahoma Work Center in all of the locations in the eastern area.
Excellent. That's it for the new business I know about. Does anybody else have any other business or announcements they'd like to discuss? All right, our next meeting is, gonna be held on April 22nd. There is no meeting for March, so mark your calendars for April 22nd. Meeting details will be sent out soon. We're always looking for host companies. Sam has volunteered to host us at the Muskogee Cabinet, by the way, so make a note of that at some point. So if anybody else has never hosted a June meeting and would like to do so, please get with me or Kim or anybody else here, and we'd be glad to have you volunteer. If there's nothing else, I'll call this meeting adjourned. Thanks everybody for coming out. If those that do want to take a tour of Advantage Controls, if you've never done so, we'll be glad to show you around. We've got 2 buildings here, show you what all that we manufacture here, introduce you to some of our people. So I invite you to stay around if you